It's 8:30, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order. This is January 10th, 2024. Boy, it's starting to make me feel old. And it is 8:30 in the morning. This is the Canby Traffic Safety Commission meeting for this month. Let's go around and introduce everybody. But first of all, I just want to tell everybody, it is always nice to see such vibrant and friendly people who come to serve the community. It really does. You guys always try to wear a smile sometimes. That's really good. My name is Bob Canberra. I'm the chairperson for this commission.
I'm Debbie Driscoll. I'm also on the commission.
Steve Turner, just a normal, regular citizen that lives on South Pine Street.
Council President Tracy Hensley, liaison to this commission.
Spencer Pollock with Canby Public Works.
Jerry Olsine, Canby Public Works Director.
Clint Coleman, traffic safety member.
And I'm Jackie Jones, the secretary.
Deanna Walker, vice chairperson.
AJ Miller, Canby Police.
And online,
Brianna Adada, I'm planning liaison for the city.
thank you very much, all of you. I'm just cluing up my hearing aids so I can hear you guys better. If you don't mind, sorry for the delay, I should have done
You're on your phone.
That was for his commission.
Huh?
Was it?
It's through an app.
Yeah, the app can
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
kind of direct the sound, because hearing aids are kind of hearing aids are kind of a pain because they're benefit, but also a pain. Hearing aids don't, they amplify all sound.
Not necessarily what you want to hear.
Yes, you go to a restaurant, you hear everything, so even the people at the table, sometimes you can't hear them. But an app like this can kind of maybe narrow the sound so that,
My mom's got one that does the same thing.
yeah.
It's really cool. It's so much better than just.
Yeah.
Makes more.
Anyway, I discovered I needed hearing aids, and my wife had told me that for years. Yeah, I know. I think that, I don't know if her problem with me is really the hearing aids.
There's a lot of spouses in my
Okay, Jackie prepared some good minutes. I hope everybody had a chance to maybe review them. Is there a motion to accept the minutes that were prepared from the December 13th meeting?
I move, oh, you go ahead.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written with the modifications that she did last night with the date.
Second that.
You want to tell us the modification if I didn't?
It was, she had the February date.
I was really ready for.
Yeah, she was getting us ready for the year to be over.
Okay, mine's had.
So they're also.
Okay, discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Now would be appropriate time for me to kind of let you guys know that Jackie will be taking the minutes for this month. But she's indicated to me and that her work, outside work is kind of very demanding, and she is asking to step down as secretary. And so let's give her a good hand. I take it, Jackie, you will be continuing on the committee,
Yes, yes.
just up and down.
I just need to take a break from taking the minutes and typing them out, making sure I get it all right.
So
It takes a little bit of time.
what we will be doing until someone else steps forward and accepts the role, we will go into a rotation, okay? Unless there's somebody who really wants to step forward and take on the role of secretary. Okay, I didn't think there would be anybody jumping up there, so I need for this to kind of percolate for a while. Last time we had somebody fill in, I believe it was Gary. And he did a good job, and so the next.
That isn't gonna help. Don't bother me out.
So salesman is always part of the job. So the next person up is Clint.
Okay, oh, today.
No, next month.
I wasn't gonna do that to you all.
Yeah, Jackie will be taking this meeting for this month. Start Clint, and then we'll carry on down the alphabet, as we have, okay?
You're still water everywhere.
Hit the wrong button.
Then
I should not be doing this.
Fired.
I swear I could have.
No, you didn't.
So,
Thanks, Tracy.
any questions about that? All right, moving on. We have a citizen with us today. Mr. Turner, who has a concern that he wants to present to us. So I turn you over to Mr. Turner.
Okay, well, we've lived there, we're at 1272, so just a couple houses off 13th. And we've been there, what, 25, 26 years. And, it's become a little more interesting, with that being kind of a bypass road that's 3 blocks long. Nothing to deter traffic, no speed limit signs. There's only speed limit signs from 10th. There's 1, 2 facing each direction between 10th and Township, and it's curvy there, so that slows traffic down. But we regularly see people doing 45 down that stretch. I called the Public Works probably years ago about, because originally the speed limit was painted on the road. I said, well, we don't do that. And I said, well, why don't you put signs up at least? Not that it's gonna slow anybody down. But it's just a big, long stretch. We used to have a lot of kids on that stretch. There's a few now that I've noticed. And the ones that live across the street, I'm on them all the time. Because people come around the corner off 13 with their foot on the gas and they're crossing the street right there. So I don't want to pick them up off the road. So I don't know, I just finally thought, well, since you guys have this commission going now, be an opportunity to come out and at least express the issue and talk with several neighbors. And you know, they're like, yeah, it's been an issue, it continues to be an issue, so. Just any way to slow down, that stretch, it gets crazy.
Spencer, could you take your mouse and just zero it on the area you're function?
Between 10th and 13th.
Yeah.
This area right
Yeah,
Right.
just a flat out long stretch, three technically long, I guess.
And I'm sure you got a lot of people trying to divert around the school area where they have to go even
Yep.
slower.
Yeah, so it's kind of a low bypass road,
Are there any crosswalks along that thoroughfare?
only at 10th and at 13th, nothing midway.
We had,
There's two alleyways.
And there's a problem with the crosswalk on, Township. Which is further down, and we'll talk about that.
So there's two alleyways that come out from the east between the houses. And I remember back in the day, you know, kids riding their bikes, kids come shooting out, whack, he gets hit by a car. But he bounced off and he was fine. He was one of our neighbors. We scraped him up, brushed him off, and still harmed him. But, you know, for kids that don't know, they come shooting out of an alleyway, and you got somebody doing 45, it's not gonna be great. So, so there, that's the issue. I don't know. I've never seen like one of those little, you know, modular speed things that says, hey, you're doing 45 or anything like that. That might be just something if it's, you know, able to be put in place once in a while. To just get people to, you know.
Our, Jerry, you want to say?
please, yeah, so we've worked on speeding issues up further north.
Yeah.
On that in the past, right, Jackie? And I know that we did that, I've never had
Where
any,
the road,
like where you go through the curves and
Yeah.
stuff, we had problems there, we put up some signage. On that, where do you live?
I'm at 1272, so I'm the second house in on the east side from 13th.
And there's no speed signs on
There
there?
are no speed limit signs.
See, that's, Brian knew,
So there's,
Is-
there's two speed signs that I know of. I drove down, from Township, I drove from Township.
Yeah.
All the way up there. There's two speeds, there's two speed alert, you know, saying this is the speed limit.
Yeah.
One facing each way.
Correct.
One very close to Township.
so,
One right off 10th.
so Bob.
Yeah.
I wanted to put speed signs in there.
Okay,
I can't get, people don't want them. in their
I
front
know,
yard.
and that,
So that's what I was hoping you lived like in a spot we could put.
Well, we have one sign that's right on the corner of 13th and Pine. And
So
it's
that's
right in front of the
supposed to be-
corner, it's right in front of the corner house, and it's like, and I think it says like, no big trucks.
Just
down
make
there.
it really big, like, this would be a good place. But yeah, I mean,
That space itself, I think.
That's
No.
anymore.
That, for some reason, they blurred out the
No.
truck signs.
Oh, the truck sign, yeah.
Pretty Google, interesting choice.
Yeah. So like I said, you know, back in the day when we first moved there, it was painted right down the middle of the road. It was painted almost like, didn't just say 25, it almost had like, as I recall, maybe hash marks that made people think, oh, there's Bowden. But no.
it was 25 mph, I think.
Oh, okay, that one was.
so,
And are we done doing that?
Last time we did it. Can't remember who it was, somebody in administration. said,
Yeah, we had a certain manager, but I mean.
which is our usual practice is we take the concern this month, okay? And this allows, and then we will be open for a hard conversation next month, okay? And we invite you back to that conversation. Because we want, in the month's time, we want people to actually drive this road and to go and take a look at it and to really get familiar with it. In addition, Spencer has already put up some speed cameras. And Spencer, you can tell them where you put the camera up.
So the camera, or the radar, we put up kind of mid-block,
Oh, okay.
I believe it was around like 11,
On a street light.
it was on a street light.
Okay,
And
So it was right,
that's just recent.
yes,
I did that, and I did a 2-week instead of a 1 week, because I did it over Christmas.
Oh,
So
so
I didn't
13
know
days.
if traffic flow would be,
I missed it completely.
So what's cool about ours is this is, it's a little thing,
Oh,
and so you don't see it.
Oh,
So
okay.
people,
Don't change the.
it gets the.
oh, okay, I get it, thanks.
I have done the correlations and you will get the speed analysis, including you, in the next day or two. Spencer was nice enough to do it. So it gave us a nice broad, it's really 13 complete days. It's over a 14-day period, but it's half a day, so
Great.
13 days
All right.
to. So you'll get that information, so part of our review of what's going on, okay?
Great, thank you.
And then on the radar or the speed sign that you were referring to that blinks and warns people of their speed. That's what the Canby Police Department actually has on their website where citizens can request it. And so it is open to anyone in the city can request that the police put it out at their location. We've used it in our neighborhood. I live right behind the high school in Cedar Ridge and HOA. And we had it out because we have a school zone and people go way too fast. And it was very, very helpful to kind of see what's going on, but Spencer also did his radar thing, which I prefer because people with the sign normally will slow down and be good.
Now, it'd be interesting to see the data that comes off of that during, you said it was Christmas week.
It was the week before and the week after.
It was the week
Or
before.
Week of Christmas. I think.
Yeah, no, it was the week leading up to, so it was a good week because it was, I think it started on the 19th or so.
Yeah.
So it was well before Christmas, so it wasn't like, and then, after.
For kids in school, when it was?
I-
I'm just curious, because
I think there was the one week.
It got really quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, everything around town got really quiet.
Yeah, so I'm hoping, I think we got some of that.
Okay.
And you'll notice that we also, as part of the select 3 days of the busiest week and break down the speeding and try to see if there's a pattern. So
Great.
that data will be available in the next few days. I'll send it out to you. And then you guys can go look the road and then we'll come back next month for a conversation. And
Well, I
welcome
appreciate
you
it.
back.
I appreciate the opportunity to come in.
Before you take off, do you guys have an HOA?
You also
How long
have to
is
stay
the
for the rest of
entire
the meeting if
street?
you want. Okay.
Further north?
Yeah, closer to, closer to the middle.
No, I think that would all been township village and it never formed.
Okay, I was just curious if there might be anyone to chat with, say, are you okay with that? Because
Yeah.
that, if that's usually the biggest barrier to.
Right. Well, there's a couple of streetlights at maybe 2 locations going down that stretch right around where the alleys come out or the home. Like that, whatever. It might be, there's a tower structure there,
I just noticed that when.
but it's only,
The current speed signs are located, like one is at a stop. And another one was along a fence line it's hard to find places that
right,
the people will agree to.
Yeah.
Even if they want it.
yeah, understood,
You know,
understood.
Uh,
Yeah, the
but
one at 10th, by the way, is about being obscured by that big sequoia that's on the corner.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're here, you might as well quit. Another concern was, and I'm gonna bring it up early since we're on time now. Matt English from the Canby Fire District brought up a concern regarding the intersection of Township and Pine. And he said that he was there when a kid almost got run over trying to use the intersection. And he said that this has been a common occurrence because that, Township is a really busy roadway. And he recommends that the intersection be completely painted. right now, there's only a painted crosswalk on one side of township. And he would recommend that we finish off the, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the painted crosswalk.
You did the work on that corner.
So the problem with that is we do not have an ADA landing spot on this corner, so we cannot legally paint that.
Or is he just saying paint?
I think he's one
All four?
Crosswalks.
crosswalks.
Or, but,
Oh,
but you know, if you can paint others,
Yeah, because you've got an ADA across.
Well, you can't go there to there.
So the
You
only,
only do, you can only do that.
this would be the only stretch that we
Yeah.
can do.
And then they can repaint the existing ones across
Yes.
township, that's.
well, then at least, sir,
where did they almost get hit?
it wasn't clear. It was, he said that the
You guys-
person was walking. And I suspect from his conversation, maybe you know how you misinterpret, but I could have, I thought the person was walking on township and a car just, you know,
See, that's what I was wondering, if they were coming down and crossing the other side of where he's at right here. If they
So-
were crossing there,
it could have
and
been
the
there.
car came in.
That
If
could
we don't
be-
have the real estate, we don't have the right of way to build that yet. When they ever develop, we'll make it put it all in.
Is that the town, the area that's gonna be developed soon?
I haven't seen
No.
that
No,
one.
that's not,
No,
the one.
that's
That's
down.
further down, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've been waiting, we wanna finish that bad.
well, all I can say is we should. I can't make a motion, but I would recommend that we do everything we can for that intersection. Not that you guys haven't already, that's not what I meant.
Right.
But what if we can do anything else for that intersection, we should.
Yeah, there's a ton of foot traffic from Baker Prairie and Tros. That crashes all through that area.
Yeah. You know, is there a motion for that?
Jerry, is there anything that you feel can be done at this time or should be done at this time?
The only thing we can do is like what Spencer said, is paint the other side until we have. Kids need to use the existing crosswalks, because that is unsafe if they walk over on that other side, but that's a parenting thing.
But
But if we have it across in front of the kind of entrance to that, subdivision and then repaint across, on Pine, then that at least gives them two ways across, so no matter what they're on Pine, they can get to the safe side and cross township.
at least if they paint one side that on township side,
Do you want me to follow up with Matt on what's going on there?
sure, that'd be great. But I mean, I think just painting that township side,
Yeah, because we have it on Redwood and Ponderosa,
right? I mean,
it's kind
with,
of odd that it's get fine.
and that has ADA ramps already. If we just paint that little section there, at least visually, it'll give the kids the appropriate crosswalk that they can come that way and across the street, you know?
Can we close a crosswalk there? Would that help? Oh, it was crosswalk,
It's-
closed signs.
Like,
Could a crosswalk close a sign where the ADA ramp is
we
missing?
don't have any property to put it up,
Yeah,
because it's on, it would be putting on private property.
Okay.
Once they develop, we clean that whole thing up. I just keep waiting for them to want to put something in there, and then we can, planning condition it.
but at least now it's not the weather's done, painting ain't gonna happen, but if we could get that on the list to at least paint that sidewalk.
Well, I would make a motion that we, Public Works, weather gets better, repaint the crosswalks and add any future improvements when, as they deem appropriate.
I always,
A second that.
all those in favor?
I,
At least we try our best.
There you go. So I had one thing I didn't mention with the Canby utility coming in with all their big rigs too. I mean, that's added a lot of bigger truck traffic, well, if you will, but a lot more traffic too. The fire we can live with because they're absolutely essential to get where they gotta go. They're ripping up and down that road a lot of times, even though at one point they weren't supposed to. But we're happy to see them coming, because they got lights and sirens, but Canby Utilities got a lot of big trucks. Right,
Is there any particular reason why you're talking about that?
because they put their big shop right down there.
Yeah, they're on fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's again, another, easy access over into the south side. Right,
And before you leave, just so you know, I look at all the data from the radar, data, and I will actually look at it and find specific times where if there is speeding. Then I'll go out at that time and do enforcement usually.
Yeah, great.
Find time,
Great.
so I'll take a
Anything will
look.
help.
He has been a godsend.
Yeah, he's been
I'll
nice.
say that, thank you.
Thanks for
All right,
coming.
hey, Ben,
Thank you. We'll see you next
I'd love to
month.
stick around for the rest of it, but I'm out a few other boards tonight. All right, guys, have a good day.
You too.
Take care. Thank you all. Moving on. Discussion of action steps from last meeting. Jackie does a good job of put together our action steps, and I know I've read some emails that some are already being worked on and things like that, so.
But yeah, I'm still waiting for my report. If you want me to just speak to that right now.
Sure.
Because we might save you some time. I know that your action list, so I brought up at the last city council meeting. And my colleagues came to consensus that staff will work on an ordinance and bring it to us. And that would be the time for you guys, if you wanted to advocate for us to pass that ordinance, that would be the meeting to attend. I don't have an agenda date yet, but it is being worked on by staff. They're writing an ordinance to lower the speed in the neighborhood over there at Darcy Estates. Do you want to speak to that? Yes, you want to, go ahead and talk about what you wanted to talk about.
So
Because this is important.
do you want me to go later or do you want to finish your?
Well, the only other piece that I had was that, I know that you guys wanted to do a presentation about the reflex cameras. And that request has been made to the mayor and the administrator to work on a work session date. I don't know when that will be because we have a lot on the docket, but it is on the list now, so it's in the works. So when we get a date, I will report to you when that will be.
That's your, thanks.
So those things are already in working on, so you guys can work on other things. But Jerry has a very good piece about the ordinance process that we need to talk about.
Yeah, so we brought it up in our leadership team meeting right after that council meeting. Tracy was nice enough to bring this up and all the stuff at the council meeting, which I was talking to Tracy yesterday. I want to thank this group because you guys are so great to work with. I mean, really,
Yeah.
really good group to work with on process. And so, speaking of process, what we talked about was I was talking with George Tro about, liability and stuff on lowering speed. He's like, we definitely need to have an engineer look at that. Not lowering it. And AJ's right about lowering it by ordinance through council. We have that right to do that. In residential, Jason Patton brought up a lot of concerns. Why do we, we did it actually in front of Cutsport too. I don't know if you guys remember that. But in, what do you call it, commercial area or stuff like that, we don't have to do it by ordinance. The police can decide to let public works lower that. But in a residential area such as that, we have to do it by ordinance. Now, the concern it is liability by lowering it. It does change things. So we would want an engineer to look at it, but what our city administrator requested is that she's worried we're gonna open up Pandora's box.
Mhm.
We need to have some sort of
Criteria.
to do this. And when we get that criteria, she was hoping this group could build like a criteria list. Then if it passes, then I do an ordinance, take it to council, I think it takes it to council, it gets it approved by there. That way, like this gentleman's gonna say, I want 20 miles an hour, and then Jackie's gonna want 20 miles an hour, and Spencer's gonna be not only repainting everything, he's gonna be changing all our 20-mile-an-hour signs, and we're not gonna have a reason.
Here in the street there where this is the neighborhood with two distinct entrances. I think, you need to have some kind of criteria, and HOA should probably be involved, that kind of thing.
And thank you for bringing that up, because that's a good idea. The HOA changes it too. Because in Talkie Farms in the past, we've done work in there and the HOA has paid for it. So that's another thing, not that the city can't pay for their own signage, but it does help.
Skin in the game helps.
The skin in the game helps that they're taking ownership in it too. So I don't know, I'd like to have police's input, this group's input. I don't know if we want to do a work session on the side to talk about this, like what criteria,
It
set up
might-
a separate meeting.
It might be fairly simple, I mean, for as densely packed in they are, they have to, I mean, I would assume that they have a higher density rating for that area, it's probably at least R 1.5, the medium density, if not R 1.2, high density, and we might be able to do it by density,
That's
just
all.
as a simple thing that it's.
Do we know what is that zone down there, do you know?
I have, and also I have history with that subdivision. It's, Tracy brought up a good point yesterday when I was talking to her about this. It's got two entrances in and out. And the biggest thing is they're both steep hills. And during the snow and ice, it's always a nightmare and stuff, and we've had accidents. That's the accidents I've seen is during the snow and ice in there, going down that hill and stuff. So I believe that this could be a good model for, implement some sort of process that we do 20 miles an hour. I just don't know how you guys want to do that.
Brianna might be able to look up the zoning for that neighborhood.
I would like to recommend that,
Oh, you got it.
that we at least carve out some extra time. And if you guys can all build in some extra time at the next meeting, for the next meeting.
Okay.
Right now, I always try to get over by 10:30 at the latest. But if we could carve out a little extra time for this discussion and to start a process, it may take us 1 or 2 months to really carve out a good, solid criteria. Excuse me, but at least next month, we come in with suggestions, okay? What the criteria would have to be. Jerry's totally right.
I don't think
Entry.
it will necessarily slow down the process
I
for
don't
this
think so
particular ordinance.
I don't think so either.
Because
No.
this neighborhood would fit within the criteria.
And-
you have it, so.
This criteria that we build will help me write the ordinance.
True.
Because you're right, as soon as we do this,
Oh,
every
it's-
one of our problematic areas are gonna come in and say they want 20 miles.
It was interesting. If you watched the last council meeting, when this got brought up, when Tracy brought this up, instantly, one of the councilors like, we need to put four-way stop in. We need to do this. And Tracy's like trying to hold on.
Conversation.
It really went into, so having some sort of structure would be nice for this. But,
Yeah.
and if you guys think though, if you guys think that we need to do this first, and I need to get the ordinance going because of safety, we can talk about that. But I don't know what's this criteria would help me write the ordinance.
I think
And
if
staff
we can, I think we've done enough to show the HOA folks that have come here. I'm sorry, you've done enough. I'm not part of this. I'm just your liaison. But anyway, I think that you guys have done enough to show the HOA that you have good intention, that you are working on it, and that will keep them happy for right now, because they know you're working on it. So I would suggest that this be a priority agenda item for your February meeting, so that he can get onto that ordinance. And then that ordinance could potentially come to us in a early March meeting.
Okay,
That would be
That
my
would be-
ideal timeline.
that
for
would
you
be
guys.
good for me. That gives me time to start thinking about it and.
Yeah.
Spencer, can you send a quick email to the group, the zoning map link, and then everyone can put that as such option.
That sounds good to me, your idea of, building that in. I was just gonna add one other thing, slightly off topic, but when you're ready.
Okay, is there any comments other than that? I mean, does off the top, does somebody have a suggestion? Density was one?
I have some idea for criteria.
Yes.
The fact that there's a park there could be,
Park.
I mean, yeah, kids go to a park.
And along that line, it could be parks and school adjacent, that either of those might play
And
into
that
it.
roundabout, I don't even know how that got built.
That's a funky thing.
You know what I
It's like
mean?
a real roundabout.
It's
There's
not-
stop signs there.
Yeah,
It's like a dead roundabout.
and it fits into the criteria of why we made it a 20 down in front of City Hall with that roundabout. I don't know, they're just more park, weird roundabout.
Yeah, the two roundabouts that we have here, the one at the city hall roundabout is, I use it, but it's a weird roundabout.
You just
Yeah,
wanna-
we don't have a real.
Everybody
roundabout.
does, instead of,
I love the picture of the public works truck cutting through. Someone has that.
Okay, so I have roundabout park.
There's technically two parks, isn't there? There's
Yes,
another one right off.
there's a
the curb.
playground
Yeah.
and a ball.
But the one
Well,
that's the
and
most
it's
problematic
safe,
is that this,
Right by
the
the
big
hill.
one, because it's at the bottom of the hill, it's sort of.
On the neighborhood.
But it might be a distance away, if we're saying the criteria is a distance from a park, we've got two, maybe possibly three parks that are all within a certain amount of that thing.
So, okay,
The only other thing I wanted to bring up on this subject was, it was inquired by colleagues. And I could not remember when the HOA folks were here. Were they planning to do any kind of fencing or things around that park?
That was,
Because that was suggested, remember?
yeah, the
I
council,
suggested it and they said they thought it was a good idea.
the council suggested that, right?
Well, there was a counselor that brought it up and I seem to remember some kind of a discussion here about that, but I didn't have anything in my notes.
Yeah, I had asked them if they had any doing, because they might really use that to put in a fence, but they know their area.
So they're talking
about
about-
You know what?
And I know they talked about signage.
That's mountable curb.
It's a what?
That's all mountable curb, isn't it, through there?
the what?
Oh, looks like.
It is,
That right there could change the criteria and save us,
yeah,
right there. See the mountable curb?
so it doesn't have.
You, there's no safety, you could drive up,
You can drive up and over that.
yeah,
Like that.
Isn't that way through the whole?
Yes, it is.
so that could change it for criteria too, so we,
Why? Tell me why you think a mountable curve.
2006 planning department, whatever they had going at the time, it would have been,
Because
it would have
you can
been.
just drive up and over it.
Yeah.
It's.
It would have been, that was like John
It would be a wall,
Williams.
you would just keep going.
That- That was like back in the,
Yeah,
Okay, but why do you think,
that is.
what is it about a mountable curve?
curb, it's the
Yeah.
curb, you can just drive. up
I
and over it.
I know what a mount, I see the mountable curve, but what is it about a mountable curve that makes it okay
To go to 20,
to go to 20?
they can drive right over the curb.
Mhm.
There's no straight.
It doesn't stop anybody from going in.
Yeah,
there.
if someone's
you
on
have
their
to
way,
go
they can just go
slower.
around them.
If you go off the road.
Look for your car and all driving over that. I don't know, just a thought, guys.
No, that's.
No,
very-
I understand where you're coming from now. I just didn't understand why,
Yeah, no, it's
what
very.
is the danger in having a
Yeah.
mountable curve?
And
You could drive right into that park.
given the park, are there well-defined crosswalks in that neighborhood?
I don't,
I
No.
think you're
I
there.
don't think so.
There are no painted crosswalks in there.
This whole, I was involved in this building, this whole thing, and it was insane. It went, it was it's got a lot of history there. They built the apartments up top the wrong way and had to tear them down and turn them around. It was started by one contractor and then, it got called Darcy Estates because it was the Darcy, she was married to Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And she bought it and got it going again and remember all that? So this whole thing went through a whole the planning department really struggled on getting this done. I
I just
remember
know
that at
it's
the time.
not the pits.
But
Not the pits.
I filled potholes back at that time. And I remember having to go out and dig up and install irrigation to the parks because they forgot it. And yeah, the whole thing was.
Well, and I lived in the townhomes on the top on Third. And the crazy thing is my address is Third, but then my backyard was what was facing Third. We had an unnamed private road,
Okay,
which also had those mountable curves, which that's why it's so dangerous is they have those the whole way down. So you just drive up into your driveway. There was no, what are they called? Aprons. There were no driveway aprons. You just drive up over the curb and go into your driveway. So.
They probably did that because of how tight everything's in there. You wouldn't be able to take a turn in your driveway and your neighbor's driveway is 10 feet away.
exactly.
Yeah,
It shows
there's no room
Spencer, we just went through a problem with the fire zone right there. They keep taking the cable down. And look how close it is to see it's down right now.
Yeah.
And so I think Matt English was on him about getting that put back up. And then the other thing, history about this, if you look at the backside, it's the police department's emergency. If they get blocked in, we put an emergency access and
That's on-
egress right through there. That
Yeah.
road is for the police department. We own that property.
Yeah,
The other
and the
thing,
entrance is up on Cedar, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
the other thing we can look at also is the width of the road.
Yeah, what is the width? Is it
I don't know,
28?
but I'm just looking at that picture of that truck.
Oh, that's a good idea.
the-
Road width on.
Yeah, the road. I just was looking at that picture of that truck. You know, the one where they took down the chain?
Yeah,
That doesn't, that's not it's not, look like it's got an open 18 feet of roadway there. I don't know, that looks
it
better.
is a
That looks better,
really
but you
unique,
know, I mean,
it's a different subdivision. It's a different design to what we're used to. on-
yeah, it's older, so it doesn't have everything, but I mean, it does grow. If they have parking on both sides, you can see how narrow it starts to get. Cars coming down real quick. And not gonna be having much visibility.
I
So
would
anyway,
like to make a suggestion when we're thinking about potential criteria, to look around at some other high density problem areas and where there might be overlap. Because it's really easy to come with criteria for this specifically, because frankly, it's kind of a hot mess. We could pick from like 50 different things and say that's the reason for it. But there probably are other areas that we might want to have the latitude to go down to 20. Because they're also problem areas, so it just might be worth considering when you see the same problem in multiple places.
so, okay, I've got some to start with, and I'll put a, you know, I'll let an email go out with this.
What do you need from the city?
Yeah.
I don't know if we need anything right now. I mean,
Can you
we need for your
request a zoning
participation
I'll
to
send
come
out
up.
Okay. We're glad to take it to council when it's ready.
Yeah, we need for your participation as far as your insight, such as like the curves, you know, and things like that, that you have, that you know,
Okay.
that would help us kind of consider. We're not, God, I mean, I don't feel very knowledgeable about everything, so your input is extremely beneficial. Your participation next month would probably be great in this conversation to carve out something that's useful. Because it's not necessarily just useful for the citizens, it's useful for you folks too, the
That's
city.
very useful.
And- and-
The PDS and part, Jeff.
And I don't know if we wanna write an ordinance here just for this place, but it could be other problematic areas, but I mean, we gotta be really clear that we don't start a avalanche.
Well, and I think there's
you know-
some specific things that you can put as the criteria.
Yeah.
And the mountable curves.
Do we have other areas with multiple curves that come to mind?
Yeah, go over to Baker. The industrial area behind, there's one back there, if I remember right. There's several, they're rare, but we put them in. I think we put some in a new subdivision over here on Dodds, didn't we?
On the cul-de-sacs, Dodds has.
See, here we have it. This is kind of the same era. You know, you can really see with changes of public works directors and planning people, how, you know,
We don't really have a lot of complaints of speed in that area, that's
No,
industrial.
but-
Mostly speed getting to that area, people who live on Baker where it's, remember we were looking at.
I'm gonna move us along to get done. We've got a good start here, and I'll send out an email specifically with this criteria so that you have it, you know, and you can start to percolate and think and see what would happen. I'll be very clear. My goal is to write a set of criteria that is not gonna create an avalanche.
Mhm.
cool.
Oh, that's the
Our
point.
criteria should be for specifically very problematic areas. Just like our four-way stop, we've done a very good job of having some idea about using when we use four-way stops. Okay, and that's why we haven't had a blossoming of four-way stops all over the place, okay?
May I toss out one little thing before we move on for consideration?
Sure.
My thought is, we have some great ideas for criteria. It might be like the ordinance would say, if you have 3 of these 4 or 5 criteria, like you have to have a minimum number of a couple of these things that only happen in certain places, the road width, the multiple curves, the proximity, whatever. That way, not everybody can come in with the open floodgates, but there's a little bit of flexibility to address the different areas that they all have issues.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll start that process. Other action steps that people want to look at? All right, we'll keep on working on those.
May I add something to the citizen input from the Knightsbridge Road concern last time? I had, so we have our suggestions of putting in a turn ahead sign a little bit further up the road, kind of where the cemetery is. I mentioned it to a couple people, just, you know, about how tight that curve is, and we drove it more frequently at night, just to see how quickly it comes up. And I'd like to suggest that we consider putting a turn sign almost in front of their house. They have that little blue free little library. I think they need a turn sign right there. Because if these accidents are happening with people who are inebriated, it doesn't matter that there's one up the road. I mean, they need to see a turn sign and a big ass rock and some reflective paint, and, you know, that'll keep them turning left. Because if you're coming up on it and you're already not with your wits about you, the only thing that might turn you is a turn arrow sign, like right there.
I just drove that, and I could swear that that's a brand new turn sign there.
There is a curve ahead sign that was installed, I think it was week of New Year's and Christmas, so that went in.
And it's right near the graveyard, right at the turn. So I thought that was,
So I think we installed it right here in front of this power pole.
Yeah, and I'm saying if we go up basically to that next big.
Those
tree.
signs have a required distance beforehand, so they are a warning sign, so they do have to be a distance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a warning sign when you're there. It's
She's
too late.
pointing to a trigger.
Yeah, yeah, all right, I just wanted to throw it out there, because, yeah, upon reflection, I'm like, that is kind of where you need one, but.
we are hoping to, when better, we also recommended painting the yellow, the actual curbing around that will, you know.
Yeah, and with the reflective paint.
Another thing, if this medication isn't enough, one of the suggestions I would have actually on the corner is what we've done there at Canby Rental, those reflective sticks. So if you had to put reflective sticks in that corner, so as you're approaching and you're,
So.
Or even basically,
About
right
regulators go right to
Where
the
did
corner.
they go?
Right
Right
there.
straight ahead, Spencer? That's where.
Yep.
Yeah. Gone. I don't know, when was the
Yeah.
last time you drove?
So you see where that library.
It's been a
is?
while.
So they had a Jersey barrier here.
Yeah.
And
I
then
know,
we-
Moved
it's
it
right
down
there.
to-
18.
Why did the Jersey barrier not hold?
It broke.
It broke when she.
Crack. Somebody,
Then
It
the
is
driver.
crack.
flew over
An
the-
actual Jersey barrier.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Now there's.
the boulder is twice as high and twice as big as
have-
that big one.
Did she say 2 tons?
that thing is, that is, somebody's gonna be really sad if they make,
Are they going up the driveway?
They're going across the driveway.
Yeah.
Straight
right in.
Towards the tree.
So does the rock help?
Well,
Well, the rock
Must
just
be
went
thick
in,
about
the rock just went in and like,
so basically they just go
Oh,
straight in,
okay.
right there. boom.
And catches the corner of the house.
There was a few.
Okay.
It's not just the corner of the house, I mean, it's like where their living room is. If somebody stays on that angle, they're gonna take out from
But
that
I
air
lived
conditioner.
on this where somebody did end up.
Well, is that where, what's his name? One of our police officers was in the fog. And
That was the going the other direction.
Okay.
He was going eastbound Knightsbridge.
Oh,
But he-
okay.
I think he crashed farther off.
He took out this pole.
Sorry.
Wasn't me, it was somebody else.
The principal's kid. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
So I mean, we'll look at, we'll paint, I mean, putting some candlesticks, you know, along that is a
But
possibility.
right in front of that
So-
library, to the left of the bank of bushes, like really right
That's
there
okay.
is kind of where it needs to be for the addressing the drunk people problem.
But didn't we just already decide you're gonna paint that curvy reflective yellow?
We were gonna
Yeah.
start with just doing a yellow curve
And
through
then
there, just to try to help.
I didn't mean to open can of worms, bringing it up again, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's like, you're
guys.
already-
One of the counselors was wanting to talk about in the council meeting, I was trying to shut it down.
We've already discussed all of this. Can I clarify, so is candlesticks an option or not an option? Sorry.
I would prefer not being an option, because then that section of curb will never get swept, and then that road will deteriorate that much faster.
Thank you. Sometimes you gotta.
That's an interesting- See, that,
The rocks kind of fixed everything, huh?
well, yeah, but you don't want, we wanna do something so that their rock doesn't get pushed back.
First of all, I don't want no part of the rock. That is not a good situation, but I do know it's, you worry about getting sued, but you don't want the kid to get hit by a car around
And
the
that's
corner
just it, they
too.
have small children, they
Yeah.
want a car in their
Yeah.
house or in their.
And there's quite an
Okay.
established pattern
All
of doing it. so.
Let's move on. Is there any other action item that you guys want to bring up at this time? Okay, moving on. A few accident, utilization of media for education.
I think we're still working on it.
We're still working. I reached out to the city to, and they're trying to work out a plan to meet with Jackie and I.
Good.
So we're gonna probably try to do on Monday, it looks like, but we'll see what they come back with, cause there's two from the city that'll work with us. so,
Okay, good.
Well, they want to reach out to Jamie as well.
Yeah,
Yes, good. Okay, so we're working as for, they're trying to work out an agreement of how to, whatever we produce will carry the approval of the city, so it has more impact than just a commission putting out notices. It becomes much more official and we can run it that way on like that can be now Facebook, that, you know, these are official things so that it be much more responsive. And that's terrific.
Tracy, do you have any idea what like a mailing campaign costs? Like we send out a postcard and one can be, is there like a set cost or something?
Yeah.
It's
It's expensive.
like really, because of postage plus. the-
Very, very expensive.
Okay.
We've looked into that. The reason I know that, we looked into that for our sewer and stormwater, for our mailers that
Yeah.
we do with DEQ, and we elected to go with the social media. It's a lot cheaper.
What-
Yeah,
One other option we could have that's very inexpensive is if we talk to Canby Utility, they can put little.
I was gonna say,
flyers in.
sewer bills.
So even though it's not specific to the utilities, it's usually just community notices.
And I have a meeting.
Because I mean, you're already sending out the sewer bill, you could do that, or Canby Utility might be willing to partner with us on something.
Oh, Canby Utilities, sorry.
Canby Utility, but the sewer, but the city sends out sewer bills, does it not? Right. That might be an option,
But you-
just a thought.
Yeah, and utilities, we usually do stuff that's a little more broad reaching community
Oh,
stuff than just the
People start-
utility bill. I see a lot of utility bills from around the region, so.
All righty.
um,
New business, any old business anybody has that wasn't on the agenda? Oh, just a radar enforcement. I know Eric is continuing to craft it, but part of that, just for your thing, isn't just the concept of red flex. It is moving more towards actual speed enforcement. And so that when we have that work session, whenever it is, that will probably be the main focus. Because radar flex is tied to the state. And they've got really difficult criteria. Anyway, moving on. And so if there's not any old business, we'll move to new business. And new business, we need to schedule an election of commission officers. New officers.
Can I suggest that you don't schedule that before, say, March or April because of your overloaded agenda next month?
Okay. I would recommend that we do it sooner. And there's a reason for that. I just need to, okay. My wife and I have decided that we need to consider moving. One, we need to downsize our house, it's a big house. So as you get a little bit older, it's a need to go to a one-story house.
I'll vote for
Yeah, but also my daughter is having their second grandchild. Yeah, thank you. And this makes the other one's less than 2 years old, so you know, it's kind of gonna be. And we as grandparents really want to be involved a lot more. And driving to Beaverton every time is a real pain. So we are contemplating moving to Beaverton. And we don't have a specific time deadline or anything, but, I think it would be wise for us to have a change of leadership so that, while I'm still here, so that I
And
can.
you can't keep the house and just live in it for like these meetings, Bob.
I have to say, you've done a very good job as chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure have.
Could your daughter move from Beaverton to?
Daughters.
We've had that discussion.
Didn't get the house to the stairs.
There you go. Could stay downstairs.
It comes with a lot of regret. I mean, I really do love Canby. I mean, we've been here for over 30-something years. And I love working with all of you, especially this committee.
There's too many people in Beaverton, we don't.
So I just think that we need to think about the transition. And so we can wait to March, but, you know, I would recommend that.
Well, I think one of the things you pointed out here, and it really creates an opportunity maybe between now and next meeting. For everyone that's a member to really think about if they would be willing and able to serve in, you know, the different roles. I think you're currently our vice president, right?
Correct, and I'm gonna let it known, I cannot change to president with my husband's
Okay,
situation right
and
now.
then you've got a changing schedule that starts.
Looks like it's.
If it comes down to it, yeah. Yeah, honestly, I think that's what it comes down to.
If not, then we'll be with it again.
If I'm going to record you.
Well, I
I can
would
be
be
your vice.
willing to do it if necessary, but I mean, I don't wanna step on anybody's toes and,
Gary wants to be chair.
Gary would be great.
Gary would not be good. I'm not even organized. You see what time I showed up today?
Yeah,
So
I feel like
let's
we
think
continue
about,
this chair.
we can put it on for maybe
Or not chair,
February for.
I'm fine with vice chair, but
Yeah.
I do not, with my current job and then my husband's health, I just don't wanna be chairperson right now.
so I don't yeah, but I've been on many fronts. I work full time. I've got a very demanding kid. I'm finishing.
Always research things.
I think Jackie is indicated she'd be willing to be the chair.
Really?
Yeah. and-
Nobody else is, I mean, I don't.
That's where we're from secretary.
Yeah, she's
you know.
looking back at the.
Well, it's a different kind of work.
Are you retired, Clint? May I ask?
No,
No,
You know,
it's a different type of work.
but it's pretty flexible schedule.
I would nominate you. I would say so.
So I'm gonna let that stand and let you guys start.
I think
percolating.
this would actually be a small enough conversation, you could do it next month. You know, if we don't, you have a little big discussion about criteria, and I understand that, but you could probably do it in February. It's
And I mean,
probably
Eric-
gonna be a 10-minute discussion.
Okay.
Eric's not with us, but I mean, if anything, maybe he'd love to take on vice or something.
Well, but he is also a part of the city council.
Yeah.
If he does get the city council, then he's not gonna be a commission on them.
Does he have a hard time making daytime meetings? Is that what he wants to do?
He's at a training this week. That, part of his work, he's volunteers on search and rescue and things like that, and he's at a training, but he would have been here. All right, with that news, let's move on. City staff reports, police.
I sent an email this morning with a couple different reports. I have a report for all of the crashes in 2023 that were DMV reportable crashes. So anything that was $2,500 more in damage or injury crashes were reported with case numbers. So those are all on there. I don't have the exact number, but there's several.
Oh, geez.
So that's for the year. Like I said, that doesn't count the minor damage crashes that just were information exchanges for insurance. There's the December crashes that I have on there for just December.
That's the first one.
A lot of good runs.
Yeah, wow, that's
No
crazy.
There's a few, a couple looks like they were at the high school.
Is it hit and run vehicles or hit and run people?
Most of them are vehicles or property.
Okay, so there's
Um,
not a separate category for when people.
If it's a vehicle versus pedestrian, it should say pedestrian. in, there's a page somewhere, I don't think we had any in December, but if you look at the year,
Might see.
there are a couple on there.
Okay,
Like
there we
right
go.
there
It's
on-
in there. Right,
Yeah,
Thank you.
Quite a few
1051,
crashes,
1051.
Safeway.
Safeway.
quite a few crashes at our signal at Fred Meyer's too. it looks
Yeah.
like.
I did notice in December, there was 3, which was kind of out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Sequoia and Hazeldale. The one I went to was a 93-year-old lady that made a left turn. She was going northbound on Sequoia, made a left turn into Fred Meyer in front of a dump truck.
Oh, no.
Um, luckily enough for her, it hit her on the passenger side. I think it probably would have been fatal if it hit her on the driver's side. The last I heard is she was at OHSU with 5 broken ribs and a collapsed lung.
Oh, no.
I will say, she walked to the gurney and got on herself and was not in pain.
Wow.
So she like,
Yeah.
nothing like that anymore. She was just,
Yeah, you know.
so I was able to get a full statement from her and she
Nice.
seemed like she was doing fine until I heard she went to the hospital and I was just amazed at how well she was handling that.
What was she driving?
She was driving a smaller sedan. I want to say it was like a Dodge Caliber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's going to the gym to work out.
You know, this, I just want to point out, this is, look how many December crashes there are. And
Yeah.
this is how, this kind of, each crash occupies an officer's time for a good deal of time. And I just want to point out that the officers are really busy when you have this kind of accident rate. I mean, I don't know how many there
Can I
are.
ask a question?
There must be at least 15.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, there's a few.
Officer Miller, if you had to size these up, between distracted driving, speeding, or impaired driving, do you have a sense of what the majority of these were caused by?
So when you talk about distracted driving, that's kind of hard to say because for us, the only time that we will ever be able to prove that somebody was on their phone in a crash is if they admit to it, or if they let us look through their phone and somehow we find out that they had an application open at the time of the crash, which is pretty rare. So unless they admit to it, it's hard to tell, but I do suspect that a lot of it is people distracted on their, either on their phone or eating or something.
Eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And a hit and run would be more likely to be an impaired situation, wouldn't it?
No, if you're distracted, you just kind of veer
Or
into
like in the
something.
high school parking lot.
Oh,
kids
yeah.
driving.
Or they don't have insurance and they hit somebody in the parking lot and they don't want to stay because they don't want to have to
Okay.
deal with
They're not insured.
no license, no insurance.
Or having a lot of accidents
Yeah.
prior and not wanting the insurance to go over big hits.
Right. And then when we look back at the year crash report, there's a couple. Clackamas County, a lot of times, if it's a crash close to town,
What's 1401?
Fred Meyer,
Fred Meyer's.
Oh, okay.
yeah, so those are usually minor damage that
In a
people just
parking
hit
lot
somebody
situation.
and drive away. I wrote county on some of these, those were crashes that either we took for the county. There was one that we had a pursuit that went into, Robert Stricker's driveway. And
Oh.
took out his fence and some people took off running and there was a gun located and
Oh, geez.
so that says it was a crash in the county, but it started with our traffic stop.
339, is that the rock?
Mhm, I think so.
Jackie,
Oh,
are you
so that's
gonna be-
August.
Jackie, are you still doing the traffic analysis? Put it in.
I'm keeping track of when I get them.
So I sent an email to everybody that was on the
Okay.
list, so it should be there this morning.
So maybe you can put that into a,
I'll keep it on the spreadsheet every month.
I'm familiar.
see if we can kind of narrow down. I'm always interested in identifying hotspots. We know business parking lots are notorious. But is there other patterns, like they're right there, 99 and Ivy, you know what I mean? And Elm, there's a lot of accidents on all of the crossroads of 99. I mean, those intersections, am I wrong?
I think this month, or sorry, December in particular was probably a little more because of the construction. I think the road closures kind of, people were getting impatient.
That was my next.
And I think that had a lot to do with the number of crashes in December.
And do you find that the crashes are due to people being generous with the the yellow turns, or are they just moving lanes, changing lane crashes?
The few that I've taken recently were at the merge, like where they merge from 2 lanes into 1 lane.
Oh.
And people are trying to cut people off and just almost road raging, where they get frustrated with each other and they end up colliding. And usually minor damage, but they're still crashes regardless.
Okay.
The last thing I have was just our overall December report for citations and arrest. I have to give credit to our graveyard and night shift guys. Those guys are out at night. You guys, if you guys don't drive at night, you probably won't see it, but they're actively, literally hunting impaired drivers. We have a couple people that are seeking them out almost every night. And I'm really proud of them. So I want to give some thanks to those guys. That 16 DUIs off the road in a month is pretty good.
Are they
That is
parked
a-
outside certain establishments waiting for them, or?
No, most of the time, they're just driving, down the highways, residential areas.
I called a few on that one.
A lot of them have been called in, that people are following the drivers and they're catching up to them and then they stop them. So believe it or not, 16 in a month doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of agencies are arresting that in a year.
I mean, that's a lot of work processing,
Yeah.
isn't that, you guys?
If it's a standard DUI where they're cooperative and they take a breath test, around 2 hours just to do the arrest. That doesn't count the reports and the paperwork after that, so.
Well,
if they
thanks
were-
for doing it for us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That is amazing. That's amazing. That's also very frightening.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's just.
Look at the number of citations. That equates to workload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
357 citations. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I always think that for every citation, you probably aren't catching 5 or 6 others. Because you just don't have the, ability. So look how many people are breaking the law.
Well, in such an obvious way that you're going to be like, you're the one who needs to get pulled over. I mean, that says something too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
something too
and then when police officers write a ticket, everybody slows down, but I mean, 357 citations. That is,
AJ, how much higher is that than normal? I mean, I know you guys have a grant that you have extra patrolling for for the construction zone. So how many more citations are being delivered because of that effort versus a normal December?
So typically our grant that we got from ODOT for the construction, recently has been for mostly visibility. And so the construction, either when they're moving the truck, somebody with a police car there with the overhead lights on, so that people slow down, so that they can safely move stuff around and the workers aren't getting hit.
More preventative.
So, yeah, I go to meetings once a month with the construction company and ODOT and pretty much get an update about what they want for the week. Like for instance, tonight they're flagging Southwest First and Birch. And so we're gonna hopefully have some people working overtime tonight for visibility, because it's gonna be night flagging. So things like that. Typically, the citations that we're writing are either on just our normal work hours, or I think in December, we did do a distracted driving mission where we had one of our officers undercover in the construction zone, where the construction company actually gave him a hard hat. And he was just standing there with the radio, and we had officers that were parked down the road, and he was just letting us know who was on their phone, who was speeding, who wasn't wearing their seatbelt. So we did that for, I think, 6 hours in one day. So there was quite a few violations during that as well.
I think the average I've seen in my mind, it's about 200 something. So but still, that's translates to a lot of work out.
Yeah, oh my God.
That's
259
on a
last
30
December.
day month, 30 days month.
Yeah.
That is,
Yes.
that's about
And only
12
getting better.
Oh, man.
12 citations every day. Think about this.
Plus all the other stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty weird looking
Yeah.
down at courts and all you guys lined up down
Yeah.
there, I mean, cause
Yeah.
you see,
They're
yeah,
pretty interesting.
yeah, all the police cars lined up at courts, it's, yeah.
There's another thing I wanted to point out before I'm done, was for you guys, if you wanna show up for court and listen to the arraignments and trials, feel free. It's a good experience for people that have never seen it.
I hope to do that.
Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I think the next court date actually is February 6th. I think it's out for a little bit for the next trial.
Yes. Tuesday, what time do they start on Tuesday?
The trial started at 2:30, but arraignments are at 1:30.
Okay.
And a regular, just traffic day.
Sorry, there is traffic trials Tuesday, the 16th.
Thanks, Tuesday.
But regular traffic day is just what?
I think it's every other Tuesday.
Hey, Bob, can I add one more thing and then I have to run to a meeting, sorry.
Yeah.
But you know, on the news, we see nothing but graffiti to sign and things, and
You were waiting.
you know, these signs cost
You said
a good deal of money, and I just wondered if cities and counties and states have considered, you know, take a company here locally like Canby Signs and Graphics. In many cases, they could put a wrap on an impaired sign that duplicates that sign without having to buy a new sign. And those wraps, I mean, they wrap everything from cars to boats to this, to that, to the other, and it would seem like that would cost a fraction of what a new sign might cost. Just a thought. And those wraps last a long time.
New sign for what?
So, for example, you see on the news, you know, they rant rave about how, you know, there's a lot of graffiti on signage. We're very fortunate in Canby, we haven't enjoyed that like some other places, but. And they talk about how expensive these signs are to replace and how they don't have the money to replace them. And I was just thinking, well, you know, in many cases, the actual structure of the sign is still in pretty good shape. And it seems like you could have a signs and graphic place, just do a duplicate wrap that they just lay down over.
Like on a speed sign or?
Oh, no, like, I mean, you drive down I-5 and you'll.
Oh, gotcha,
You're
yeah,
finding signs and everything,
Gotcha.
and the wrap, it just
Yeah.
seems like it would cost a fraction of what it would cost to replace all these signs.
If they can make it reflective, since most of the line.
I would guess that would be more expensive, just because of the labor, because they have to use heat guns and do all sorts of other stuff to get it to stay, and then plus the material and the labor, I think. I mean, Spencer can probably comment on it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right,
Good job.
planning?
Are you going to that?
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention that we will be holding another mapping growth community exercise on the 24th at Baker Prairie. This is going to be the same activity that was done in November, so if you weren't able to make it to that one, I encourage you to come to this one. And that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer questions.
What date was that?
See you
The
guys.
24th.
6 o'clock at Baker Prairie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any for planning? I didn't attend your guys' meeting on the Chipotle one, the remodeling for but I was impressed with how much work people were considering about the entrances and exits from the Dairy Queen. And working on that, because that's always a little concerning about the entrance and exits of that thing, but they're doing a good job of really considering all of those kinds of things. So, thank you, planning.
Thank you.
And you don't have to answer right away, but I was just, in the back of my mind, when I was walking the other day, what is our current standard for length of driveway in new development? You know, the side of your driveway?
Yeah, so length of driveway is 19 feet from garage door to back of sidewalk.
Okay, 19, good. Some of those look really short, especially with big trucks. So I was hoping that it's 19, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, all righty. Any other questions for planning? Public Works?
Not too terribly much to report from the last month. This month, leading up into this weekend, we're gearing up for whether or not if it snows. I personally have my doubts because I've lived here long enough that it's very rare, but when it does, it happens bad. So we does end up getting snowy and icy, we'll be out sanding major intersections and hills, and stuff like that.
Bless your heart. Thank you. Lucky we live in Canby.
Luckily, it's flat, so there's not too many
I've heard it's
hills.
going into Darcy Estates, right?
Darts, well, there's actually three. Village of the Locks was an issue last year. That was not.
And I appreciate all the hard work that they're doing on one of the one of the roadways that we've often identified a problem is North 10th Street. There's a lot of pre-planning going on for that
We're
street.
currently doing a lot of the pre-survey. Dave Connor, who's our project manager, has been working with the engineers on getting all of the right-of-way acquisition to move forward with that capital project. So I think we're in the design phase, and I'm thinking should have gotten an update from him on when he's thinking design phase will be done, and then they'll be starting to solicit bids, but I believe they're trying to solicit bids this year.
That's a very problematic area, but it would provide a nice connection for pedestrians to walk all the way from, even from Territorial all the way up, then you hook it, because Maple has a good, at least partly crosswalk, and then sidewalks, and then hook around then to Locust, and then you could actually walk all the way down to the city center. So that's part of the dream here.
And what was the timing for Pine and North? Is that as soon as the weather gets nice again?
Back and forth for
Providing,
which,
for repaving it and changing the curve.
Really?
the realignment, that one is going to be, I know at one point in time, I think we had talked about doing that one before 10th. I think that the way the design is going, that 10th might happen before Pine, just because there's gonna be a little bit more involved as far as trying to change land ownership.
Okay, so that's.
So for the realignment, I think that we wanted to push forward harder on the realignment,
Mhm.
but I think that we're gonna probably get most of it on 10th before we can figure out all of the property swapping for the.
And we talk about these kind of things, just be mindful about that meeting on the 24th with planning about the future. If anybody can attend, it's really important for us to be, at least as a commission, be aware of where all the future movement of population growth is going to occur. And from a layman point of view, and Rhiannon can correct me, but it seems that the next 20 years, that the development is gonna sweep down from Territorial down to the river. In that whole logistical area. That, we need to be mindful that as we develop, that with those kind of the roads that will serve that area, which is Locust, Holly, and Maple, are developed in such a way that they can take the traffic, the expected traffic someday, and not get landlocked, that then we have these, need for one-way side parking and all kinds of other things, let's be mindful as these things happen, that we build the infrastructure that will support the expected development down the road. Okay, that's not my piece. City, I think you covered.
I don't really think I have anything else. I covered my updates on things that you charged me with taking care of. And doing 4 candidates for the empty city council seat tonight. I have, do you have questions for me?
Thank you.
Usually it's not with the questions for me, so I guess I'm off the hook today.
Did you guys make a decision on the city administrator? That's still.
Oh, no, we hired Eileen Stein.
Great.
And Canby Fire, I talked about Matt's concern. Council members' reports, Deanne?
My main concern is just with the construction on 99E and with, what officer, presented with the accidents. I think a lot of people are running red lights right now. And, I know at Burke Parkway and, 99, there's been lots of problems happening and it just continues to be a problem child.
I know I've done everything in my power to avoid driving down 99. I go by, get off Barlow, could go all the way around to avoid that.
People are.
At the same time, they're doing a good job. We need to have a big, you know, our message to everybody is that, you know, it should be that that's ultimately a good project. You know, eventually the roadway will be better. We just need a little kindness and patience.
Our side
You know?
roads, our roads that people are using instead are being damaged now. Cause 13th Drive in here was a nightmare, cause there's lots of potholes over by
Sure.
a new subdivision that's just been there a few years. I'm like, whoa, streets are going to pop fast.
People curving around.
Yeah, it is part of construction, so.
It's,
Well, didn't we have a sting operation here on Berg where you cited a lot of speeding traffic in there?
He was doing it on 13th, on the backside.
13th, yeah, well.
Yeah, that was just me doing enforcement on 13th.
That was
Yeah,
focused.
for a couple weeks, yeah.
Okay, but wasn't anything learned from that?
It wasn't on 99, it was on 13th between
13th,
Berg
yeah.
and Elm.
and that was we appreciate that. There's a lot of speeding on that.
That was exciting.
Yeah, a lot of, like, probably half the stops up.
Yeah.
Should have sat there with a launcher and then. I could-
Yeah, I saw popcorn and lunch. I was inside my house.
Gary,
Nothing really to report.
okay. Clint's gone. Jennifer?
Just a little bit of heads up, so, the planning commission approved a new building for Clackamas Fairgrounds. It's gonna be a 44,000 square foot building, where they had to tear down some old barns a couple years back because of structural issues. So it's big, it'll be new, it'll have the option potentially to be helpful in an emergency. In that they have a pretty decent HVAC system and some additional HVAC scrubbers that can go on it. That's just kind of side FYI. But from a traffic perspective, the 99 really gets backed up when there's events. They did a traffic study that I would call slightly questionable in the timing that got chosen for looking at kind of peak hours, because that's not necessarily peak access to events. So as a longer term thing, I guess I mentioned it to you since Jerry had to leave. I know we're trying to work with 99 about the timing of the turn lanes from 99 onto city streets. Just that it'll continue to be really important. That's not just an optional yellow blinky light, but then there's more dedicated green turn light times. And then something that other, county fairgrounds sometimes do, like the Clark County Fairgrounds, is they apparently, I didn't know this myself, but from discussion, that they work with the local police to actually have somebody kind of like flagging people in. We don't do that now. You guys are obviously limited on resources. I just kind of wanted to mention it as something for people to be aware of, that maybe at some point there could be some discussions about planning that a little bit better for the really big events, especially like Harifax and the Clackamas County Fair, and just some of the real big ones. If it's not a super big one, they should have enough parking. It'll be a minor inconvenience, but that's
Do the fair.
what I,
The county sheriff.
The sheriff.
Do the fair.
okay,
I don't think they do for the fair fest.
I don't think so. I think they get asked to do it and it's up to the sheriff's
If they
office.
wanna
if they
do
wanna
it.
do it or not.
and I think it was like a dog show or something that was one that caused like a really crazy backup this past summer, and that's just everyone was trying to get there before noon to be set up. So some of it's predictable, some of it isn't. And I
Fairgrounds is an interesting piece because it is technically within our city limits, But the dirt itself is county jurisdiction. So a lot of the times they'll tap the sheriff's office to take care of it.
Okay, and so my.
Not that our community doesn't support them, but.
Sure,
it's-
sure.
It's usually they go to the sheriff's office first, am I correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Can you-
so yeah, none of that might be all that interesting or useful, but I was just like, oh, we never at all talked about
It's
it.
interesting.
Jimmy, when you compare these with Clark County, meaning Vancouver, because that's directly off Interstate Highway there. And like you said, the backup is tremendous.
Yeah, apparently they just bring in a whole bunch of people to kind of flag through, so
Yeah.
they're not relying on the intersections at really peak times. But apparently they also have even bigger events.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I actually have never been to the Clark County Fairgrounds, so I can't.
They do a lot of big concerts.
I know that they do a lot of really big things, that's not all I know. But so it's a different scale, but it would just kind of came to mind that we might be able to do more for some of the events here in town to make it less of a. Sure, yeah.
Thank you. Jackie?
I guess our speed sign wasn't working for a little while on Southwest 13th, but then it started working again.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, did you guys fix it or?
I don't know that we had anything to do with that, so
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because
It's
if
working,
it's
it wasn't,
working intermittently, then I wanna know, if we can go figure out what's going on.
because it wasn't working for 2 days. And I was busy, like, oh, I need to, oh, it's working, well, maybe they figured it out. And then, I guess the other thing that's been, I've noticed maybe the increase in traffic due to construction is that people are just blowing a stop sign at Elm and 13th. It's pretty fascinating.
Stop sign at where?
13th and Elm. I mean, not even doing a California stop, or just like disregarding, like, it's amazing. To me, it seems like it's increased.
I've also had a complaint from somebody about speeding on Elm that I forgot to bring up South Elm between like Fifth and 13th. Long straight stretch there.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. And then, I found it interesting the way over here today too, with the construction at Grant and 99, trying to get through the green light, people are blocking the intersection. So I imagine you guys are aware of that, but people don't understand the basic rules of the road.
Yeah, don't stop at intersections.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I misjudged before, but like,
There's a difference between having half of your car sorted, and it didn't make it all the way through, and like being smacked that way.
then it was, because some guy was kind of over and like, are you gonna go, am I gonna go on green? And then, the parking on Southwest 13, it seems better.
Parking of where?
On Southwest 13, seems better. But
Is that specific? to
There's
events
been
and
some
stuff?
weird cars like sitting for like days and
like weeks, more like weeks, I had a car in front of my house for 3 weeks, I called green car guy.
You probably call
I've been,
it code enforcement.
I can say that yesterday I talked to her and she had a big long list on a paper of all the cars that she either tagged or chalked.
and then I had,
There
then
was
I,
a lot
yeah,
of cars.
and I felt bad for my neighbor, I had to be transparent, like, I didn't know your van was coming back, I'm sorry. It was mainly because,
They're not supposed to be parked on the road for more
but
than
you don't, I mean, somebody's
What is it?
48 hours.
like
48 hours, right?
abandons their car, that is what I felt. So, it's like, weeks at a time is a long time to just drop your car off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2
We have a full-time code enforcement person now.
Correct.
And I mentioned that person's really busy. Bless her heart, or his heart. Is it worth?
It's her, yeah, Chris Ann.
And then, and that's all I have, I'll just say speeding and the stop sign and. Just, like, are living in a busy neighborhood.
you know, there's some orange guy. There's some guy selling oranges.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
13th and Elm.
And 13 in Malina and 13 in
Yeah.
Township.
I think it's a family or something, because I saw a lady on another corner.
Cause I kept
What's going on?
parking in front of my house to go get the oranges.
Interesting, yeah, I've seen people just at the Charbonneau exit, like drinking off the fire.
No, they're in town, they do it at the 13th of Elm. And they were pulling over in front of my driveway to go down up to the, really annoying.
Is there any other issues for discussion? I have put together a Bob's ongoing tracking issues, okay? And it's about the kind of things that, we've discussed and we've actually moved on, that we're just waiting. Things like, the CIP project, tent, fine, Walnut. Those kinds of things that are ongoing. So this isn't a criticism, it's just that we can track it. County issues like South Ivy River, the speed from from the intersection to the river, we've asked them to give us authorization to lower the speed limit to the city. Haven't heard back from them yet. The intersection lights for Ivy and 13th Street. We said that they need to have designated turns. And we're waiting for that. The truck route signs, we've had communication. I didn't see a real big change yet on coming down Arc Road yet, but we've had some emails back and forth with the city. And then there's a few others.
I think the county did move the signs closer to the intersection.
They did do that, and they got a little bigger white sign.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna send out this email too, and then we can use this as our tracking mechanism so that we can track to see, you know, some projects that we've actually voted on are, you know. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate all of your time and effort and your smiles. See you next month.
So it's a big income?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do next month.
Oh, okay. I thought it was January.